On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very exclusive treat. He is the guest with the most appearances on our show, and he just wrote the foreword for my first book, The Reinvention Formula, coming out August 15th with Wiley and available for pre-order now. He is what feels like 100 times best-selling author, one of the top speakers on the planet, encourager, and transformer, who's passionate about developing positive leaders, organizations, and teams. No big deal. His principles have been put to the test by numerous Fortune 500 companies, professional and college sports teams, school districts, hospitals, and nonprofits around the globe. And yet, I believe he's just getting warmed up. Big facts. His latest book, The One Truth, which I believe will change the world, is about to drop, and I think it is his best work yet. He's just a juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific father and husband. Please welcome the dynamic, positive, and wise, the handsome and abundant, my dear friend, the living legend and sage, Juicy Jon Gordon. How you doing, John?
Craig, that's awesome. What a great intro. Never had anything like that said before. I love it. And most appearances, I will take that honor any day. That's awesome.
Yeah, every time we get together, it's pure magic. You're a really, really close friend of mine. You're a mentor to me. And we were just having a 15-minute awesome chat before we recorded. At some point, we're like, we should probably save some of this juicy stuff for the show. I don't really have to say this, but just to be responsible for our listeners, we're about 5 million now. In case you're not familiar, do a deep dive, check out all the things Johnny has going on, read his 1,500 books. What I think is most valuable now is we just have an unbelievable conversation and we dive in on his most recent work. Before we dive in, we're going to get a little weird. Johnny, you ready for me?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Why The One Truth and why right now?
Because it's the book that came to me. I believe it's the message that the world needs right now. And this is the book that I was meant to write at this point. I really believe everything in my life, all 27 other books I've written, all the work I've done, all the talks I've given, all the coaching I've done has led me to this moment where I'm sharing this message right now. This is not my message. This is something that came to me on walks last summer. I was getting these ideas. I started teaching, coaching others on it. I taught your community some of it along the way. The response was unbelievable, like nothing I've ever seen. And I knew, okay, I got to write this book. So many are struggling with their mental health, as you know. And let's face it, we're not meant to go through life feeling fearful and anxious and worried and cluttered and chronically stressed all the time. It's not normal to go through life that way. We've accepted it as normal because so many people are dealing with it. So it's become normalized, but it's not normal. It's okay. If you're feeling that way, it's okay because everyone goes through that. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong with you, but we have to say it's not normal. You know what's normal? Power, peace, joy, love, purpose, connection, and clarity. We are meant to go through life that way. And the one truth is the book. It's the message. It's the lessons. It's the teaching that is going to take you to that next level to be able to understand how to go towards oneness instead of separateness, how to move towards oneness where you feel whole and you feel that power and you feel that peace and you're able to take on life instead of going through life feeling fearful and timid and retreating, feeling broken all the time. This is going to make you feel whole and powerful. And when you do that, you'll be able to make a greater impact in this world and also enjoy your life so much more, Craig.
I couldn't agree more. And I love every moment of this so far. And we're just getting warmed up. And it's funny because you wrote so many books. I think when most people think of you, they think of like positivity, optimism, and stuff like that. Of course, there's some deeper ones like The Garden, which was one of my personal favorites. But this one seems a little more unique than all the others combined. Would you agree with that?
Yes. You called me like a sage earlier. You called me, someone who's been doing this work a long time. I am so much more than just positivity and optimism and belief. It's a part of who I am. It's my main core message, but I've had these thoughts for a long time now where I really have been thinking about our existence, our reality, our universe, who we are, the brain, how it works, how thoughts and the brain interact. And then this summer, all these ideas just started flooding in. All of a sudden, I had a framework, I had an understanding of how it all fits together. So this book is very different. This is like nothing I have written before. I love my fables. I love the books I've written, but this book explains why those books made a difference. These books explain, this book explains why positivity has an impact, why it uplifts your state of mind. It explains why love is so powerful. So like this is looking under the hood, and this is like teaching you these like secrets of the universe so you can go through life like a Jedi. And once you see this world through the one truth lens, you'll never see it the same way again. And that's what people are reading it are saying, like, wow, I'm seeing the world completely different. You'll understand the world so much more. You'll understand how thoughts work. You'll understand how to take on this world. And again, as I said earlier, have more power in it. That's why I said unlock your power is one of the subtitles. Elevate your mind. You got to elevate your mind. Heal your soul. Everyone is going through life with a hole in their soul, HOLE. And the purpose of life is to become whole, WHOLE. And as you become whole, you become one. When you have that HOLE in your soul, you have the hole in your soul, you feel separate, you feel divided. Even a wound, we all have wounds. People understand the language of wounds. We all have wounds. What is a wound but a separation? And so the one truth is all about everything comes down to oneness and separateness. And when you feel separate, you feel weak, divided, disconnected. When you feel one, you feel united, connected. You feel love. You feel that peace. You feel that joy. And it's a difference that we all have experienced, I believe, in our lives, where we know what it's like when we feel disconnected and divided, when we feel connected and we feel one. And we're meant to go through life feeling that connection. And that's what I want to encourage people to do. It's what I want to teach people how to do. I've seen people live this already since I taught it to them. And the transformation is unbelievable.
I believe it. And I've known you for a couple of years now and developed a really strong bond. I don't think I've ever seen you this jazzed or lit up about a specific work. It's very obvious how important this is for you, but even more importantly, how important you know this is going to be for the world. And when you explain like oneness, I feel like I picture like staying connected. Like when I'm on a run, for me, it's moving meditation, and that's when I'm most connected to God. And
Yes.
divine downloads are pouring in, and I'm not really worried about anything. I'm so creative. That's what I picture when you say oneness. Is that right?
Yes. I love that. When you experience oneness, there is this connection, and you are one and connected to your creator. And we are meant to be connected to our creator. Think about the tree growing in soil. It needs to be connected to the soil to thrive and grow. The fish must be in water to be healthy and to thrive. When we are connected to our creator and experience that oneness, we thrive in that oneness. You are spirit, Craig. I am spirit. We have a spirit. We are soul. Your soul makes you unique. It is your spiritual DNA that makes you unique. So your soul makes Craig Craig. It's why you experience yourself in this world. Your spirit doesn't experience that, but your soul does. I have a soul that experiences it as John Gordon. That makes me who I am. That's a sense of self, that soul. And then we have the spirit. And think about the body. It turns to dust when you die. What is the body but energy turning to dust? We don't realize how strange death really is. Think about it. I've lost my mom and my dad. One day they were here, and the next day they weren't. They were gone. Like, where did they go? One day you're here, one day you won't be here. Where do you go? It's like crazy when you really think about the nature of our reality. So I'm convinced that we are spirit. God is spirit. So when your spirit and God's spirit are one spirit, that's when you feel that incredible connection. That's the feeling of the zone. If you've ever been in the zone in sports or when you're on stage speaking, I know you've been in the zone before, where you feel like you're one with everything and everyone, and time slows down because there's this experience that's beyond this reality. It's something greater, something deeper, something amazing and special beyond our comprehension. And so there's this oneness, and I experienced that oneness too. So as you're walking with God and one with God, one with your creator, guess what? He's always speaking to you. He's moving through you. He's has a voice, and you're meant to listen to that voice. And as you start to listen to that voice and follow that voice, it becomes this incredible relationship. But in that oneness is also where you heal. It's the renewing of our mind that is talked about. We renew our mind, and that's the way we heal our mind. It's the way we heal our brain as well. When we renew our mind and our soul, we renew and heal our brain. Versus on the other side of things, when our brain is being encumbered by dysfunction and fear and worry and trauma and things of the flesh and bad choices and bad foods and all the things that bring you down, you have the choice. Am I living by the spirit or am I living by the flesh? And there's a scripture that says in the Bible, Romans 8:5-6 says, a mind governed by the flesh leads to death. A mind governed by the spirit leads to life and peace. So what I just said was, when you experience the oneness, there's life and peace. When you're experiencing separateness and the wounds of the flesh, there is a feeling of death and dying. And what do you want to have as you go through life?
This is so good. And for the audience, grab a journal and run that back. I think of like this 3D reality, like these meat suits that we're wearing. Obviously, yours is a little bit more handsome than mine, but that's like the 1% reality. And then the 99% is everything else, like the energy, the universe, God, all that stuff. And we want to tap into that. And I always wondered this, but you just laid it up for me to really ask you, what is the difference exactly between the soul and the spirit?
Good question. Been thinking a lot about it. Well, the spirit, again, is that part that God has given you. It's that essence of who you are. You have this spirit, and that's sort of your energetic makeup. Like, we are more light beings than physical beings, because that meat suit you said is actually an energetic suit, and it turns to dust. So it's energy. So we're energy. We're more light beings than physical beings. How do we make sense of this world? But through electromagnetic signals, through frequencies, through wavelengths, through vibrations, through frequencies, through signals that are interpreted by the brain and by, again, the auditory nerve for hearing, right? The optic nerve for seeing, and then making sense of these signals to then interpret them, to then give pictures and sounds that create meaning in this world. So my thing is, the spirit is the essence of who you are. God is spirit, your spirit. So what's the difference between the spirit and the soul? The soul is your unique spiritual DNA and sense of self that exists as part of the spirit, but it's your unique expression of you, giving you this sense of self. So the spirit is eternal. The soul is eternal, but the soul is an eternal you, but the spirit is sort of like the makeup of if everything is water, then the spirit is your initial water that's then connected to the greater ocean. So you're like a fishbowl of water, and then you pour it into the ocean. You're part of the ocean, but you're sort of have your own fishbowl, which is your soul encompassing your spirit. Does that make sense?
That does. Yeah, this is so good. I have to put you on the spot and ask you, and this is totally off topic, but straight off the
Yeah.
cuff. What do you think happens to our soul when the human experience comes to an end?
Yeah, we are an eternal soul living a temporary space-time reality. So the soul is already connected to the eternal. It already is living in the eternal. So the soul is not only living this eternal existence and a part of the eternal existence, but it's expressing itself in this reality right now. And so your soul comes into this world and is now expressing itself in this world, and it's expressing it as an energetic reality with vibrations and frequencies, but it's the soul expressing itself and living this reality. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
And
does.
so the soul is already eternal and it's living in this temporary reality. So it's here in the temporary reality, but it's also in the eternal. Jesus said the kingdom of God is inside of you. He was saying the kingdom is within you. He was saying the soul, the connection to the eternal is right here, right now. He said the kingdom is near as well. It is near. He said the goal is to bring heaven to earth and make earth like heaven. Every day we're meant to express our reality and express heaven on this earth and in this reality and make earth like heaven. And that means love and joy and peace and purpose instead of living with fear and anger and hate and division. So I believe the soul, basically, the body fades away. We die, the body fades away. The soul then is still operating, existing in the eternal reality. It's just not existing right here in this energetic reality that we're experiencing. And so it's a different dimension. And that's why we feel the presence of loved ones when we die. There's different dimensions. It's why I don't believe anyone is really ever gone. They're just in the next room. Now we miss their personality, we miss their physical presence, but their essence is eternal. I've been saying it for a while now. Appearance is temporary, but essence is eternal.
It's beautiful.
So the essence of who you are is eternal, but the appearance is temporary. After all, why would you care, Craig, about today? Why would you care about making a difference in someone's life? Why would I care? Why do we make a great bottle of wine if we're just going to drink it? Why do we make a great meal if we're just going to eat it? Why does it matter if a team wins in a sporting event if 100, 200 years from now, no one's going to care? Why does anything actually matter? Why does anyone actually care? Why should we even care? People say, well, to help the next generation. Well, they're going to die too. Oh, it's gonna be to help the next generation after them. They're gonna die as well. Everybody we're here to help in future generations, they're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. So why does it really matter? It's because that appearance that's temporary, that's really not the end game. The essence that is eternal, that's what matters. That's why everything matters. Every moment is an eternal moment to make an eternal impact in someone's life. Every time and every moment, you are expressing the essence of who you are, of Craig Siegel, of myself. We're expressing our nature of who we are, doing what we're here to do in this world, on this earth. As we're doing that, that essence, that love, that joy, that passion, that energy from within, and we're sharing that, that is the eternal impact and the eternal feeling. And that is the eternal care that actually is what lasts. Nothing else lasts. Everything else just fades away. But your care and the essence, that's what will be remembered. And that's what people remember.
This is really deep stuff.
Very deep.
Yeah, this is the deepest work that I've heard you create. And it's awesome. This is all I want to talk about, if I'm being honest. I can't get enough of this stuff.
Yeah, this is the one truth. I mean, this is what it's all about. And it doesn't mean, as you understand the one truth, that, oh, well, then I'm just going to die. I'm an eternal soul. So this doesn't matter. No, this explains why everything does matter. It explains why you do care. And it explains why you should always bring your best to every moment and to everything you do and to everybody and to that person on the street who's struggling, and you meet them and you have a conversation with them. Their eternal essence and your eternal essence are one. Now, the term namaste means the spirit in me recognizes the spirit in you. So think about that. Like, my spirit recognizes your spirit, and we realize at the essence of who we are one. When you realize you're one with God and with others, what happens? You then care about the one. You go after the one who's lost. You go after the one who's struggling. You go after the one who needs advice and who needs help. When you see yourself as separate from others, you don't care about others. But the minute you realize we're one, you now want to help them and care about them. And it makes you want to give more to humanity and to others. So I could always tell, does someone really care, by their essence and also their actions? You can also tell who's struggling by their thoughts and their fear, and a lot of times their negativity. I have people come to me all the time. Oh, I'm struggling with this, John. I got all this negativity. This is going on. That's going on. And I'll say to them, I bet you feel really far away from God. They're like, yeah, how'd you know? I used to feel close. Now I feel really disconnected. How'd you know? Because if you were connected to God, you wouldn't be feeling that way. If you were connected to God, you'd be like, I'm happy. I feel great. I feel love. I feel joy.
Right.
The minute you feel disconnected, you start to feel more divided. You feel more separate. You'll start to have more anxiety, more negative thoughts, more worry, more fear, more doubt, more clutter. So the whole point of the one truth is to explain what's going on at a deeper level. It's like looking under the hood of humanity, understanding your nature, understanding how you can conquer reality and live powerfully in this reality. When I say conquer, I mean be a force for good in a really positive way and make an incredible impact, an incredible difference, and not suffer like so many are suffering. Craig, so many people are suffering because they're believing the lie, one, of who they are. They think they're a physical being. So it starts there with that illusion. Then they're suffering because of the problems that they face, the wounds that they've had that need to be healed. And we all have wounds, so those wounds need to be healed. And the negative thoughts that are always bombarding them and sabotaging them and creating doubt and distortions, which are lies about them, and distractions and discouragement and division. And the root of the Greek word for anxious means to separate and divide. We've talked about in the past. That's in the garden. So when you feel separate, you feel divided. When you feel anxious, you feel divided. Well, guess what? Anxiety and division come hand in hand. That's what we're talking about. The more we move towards oneness to separateness, we move from positive to negative. So what's going on really is, in this energetic reality, and the whole purpose of this existence is Are we going to win the battle of our mind? Will these negative thoughts that we have bring us down? Or will these positive thoughts that we can tune into lift us up? Can we tune into and become whole? Or will we connect to the negative frequency, the lower frequency? And will we then become more and more separate? And if you look at your life, you can actually see how this makes total sense in your life. And you can look at people who are dealing with mental health, and you can see how they're struggling and they feel fear. They feel isolated, alone, and disconnected. They actually feel separate. And the term ego stands for edging God out. So people with big egos actually feel very separate. It seems like they're powerful, but they actually feel powerless. And because they feel powerless, that gives rise to this sense of self, this ego that gives them a sense of power, but it's false power because it's connected to self. It's not connected to something greater than themselves. Now go to the word integrity. Integrity comes from the word integer, which means whole and complete. A leader with integrity has wholeness and completeness. A leader with integrity is one. They feel one. There's no gaps in their character and who they are, what they say. There's alignment. I know you love the word alignment. There's alignment in who they are. Humility. Humility connects you to others and to God. Ego disconnects you to others and disconnects you from others and from God. So just think about that in terms of our everyday experiences. It all makes sense. The more you look at oneness and separateness, I can give you thousands of examples of how it plays out in our life. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm doing in the book. I'm giving a bunch of examples to help people understand. Like traffic. One day you're in traffic, and man, as you're driving traffic, someone wants your spot on the road and you want their spot. And you're arguing or fighting over a spot on the road or trying to cut someone off. Think about that. You see the other person as the cause of your traffic. They see you as the cause of their traffic. And so you're looking at each other as separate beings. You got to realize, no, we're all the traffic. We're all one traffic. There's a sign in LA that says you are the traffic. So once you realize that you are the traffic, oh, I'm no longer separate from you. Let's stop fighting. You can have the spot. No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. It's funny because when you're first explaining this stuff, it sounds a little complicated, but then when you give examples, it's like, of course, I
Right.
can't picture thinking about it any differently.
Right. The more you read this book, that's why I want people to read it. You read it, you're going to see the world through a new lens, but it's going to give you an understanding as you go through life and give you more clarity and power, because the truth always gives you clarity. The truth always gives you power. The truth actually shows the lie pretty quickly and easily. And that's what's great too. You'll be able to spot the lies in your life, the lies that say you're not enough, the lies that say you don't matter, the lies that say that your life is meaningless. Those are all lies because you're here for a purpose. You have a destiny. You have a life you're meant to live. You have a soul that is meant to express itself. And your soul is meant to go through all sorts of adversity and challenges along the way. And they're tests. Am I going to choose the negative road? Will I choose the positive road? Am I going to choose the lie and become less? Or will I choose the truth and become more? And guess who gives us those tests? Guess who allows us to have those tests?
God?
The creator of the universe. That's the narrative of the universe. He gives us a choice. You're going to choose evil. You're going to choose good. You're going to choose fear. You're going to choose love. Through this challenge, you're going to give up. We're going to get stronger. And will you grow? So even looking at the Israelites in Judea, when they were fighting the army there, and God would not allow them to destroy the army. He left an army for them to continue to fight. Why? Because he knew that they had to fight the army in order to continue to get stronger. Left by themselves, they would not grow. He wanted to make them stronger on their journey. He does the same for us. He gives us adversity and tests and challenges. He gives us rivals. He gives us sometimes people who are coming after us. He gives us big challenges so that we will continue to grow on the journey. Will we try to do it on our own and feel separate, or will we do it with God and tap into the power of that oneness?
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here. This is so beautiful. Something that you said about a couple minutes ago, and I took a mental note, was that we are a soul looking to express ourselves. How did you phrase that? That was
We are a soul not looking to. We are a soul expressing ourselves in this reality. And the brain is, think about it, the brain is the hardware. So when you're thinking, the thought actually exists in the mind and the soul. The mind is part of the soul. The heart is part of the soul, the spiritual heart. And so we have this soul that has our mind and our heart. And in that soul, we are expressing this reality. But how are we expressing it? By literally activating thoughts in the brain. And then from the thoughts in our brain, we are now then experiencing the reality we're experiencing. This reality that you and I are experiencing is nothing more than our brain firing synapses and having this sense of this world that we're actually seeing now. But you literally have 86 billion neurons in your brain. Every neuron has a transmitter and receiver on the neuron. So your brain literally is a collection of little antennas, and you're literally expressing yourself and experiencing this reality through firing of the synapses. It's very matrix-like when you understand it.
I was just thinking that.
So you get this matrix-like experience, but underneath the matrix experience, underneath is the soul and the spirit, which is the essence of the eternal. I don't really go into too much of this in the book. I explain it in a very simple way because I didn't want to lose people too much in the book. But this is like, we're going even a deeper dive in the book. This is almost like the truth behind the one truth.
Good.
This is like the truth behind the one truth, because this was my thinking as I was writing it and sharing it and talking about it. And the cool thing about this, Craig, is, again, this is not a religious book. This is a book about truth. And this is a book about finding the truth. Like the old Cherokee story of the two wolves. Which one are you going to feed? Which wolf? And which one is going to win? Well, the one you feed. And if you feed that positive one versus the negative one, guess what? That's the one who wins the fight. We've all heard that story of the two wolves inside of us. That's a story of a positive and negative frequency. Will I choose the positive frequency or the negative frequency? Going back to the garden, Adam and Eve, what is that a choice between? That's a choice between, am I going to choose to listen to the serpent, the devil, or will I listen to God and honor God? That's a choice. It's a choice between two frequencies, positive and negative. The Old Testament in Adam and Eve is a story about the separation of man and women from God and from each other relationally. That's what we're going through to this day. It's this separation. And then if you look at the New Testament, for example, that's a story of oneness, of reconciliation, of coming back to wholeness and healing what's broken and healing the separation and coming back to oneness. This is truth. Here's what's cool. The Adam and Eve story, that's an old ancient Jewish story. That's not a Christian story. That's a story that explains the separation of humanity. What are we dealing with here? Separation, oneness and separation. That's a story that existed for centuries, for thousands and thousands of years, that explained the reality of what we're dealing with. Really cool when you think about that. And then along comes the New Testament that explains the solution to this separation. It's pretty wild that years later that there would be a prescription or an answer on how to deal with that separation. So what I'm saying to the reader is, look, I didn't come here to try to convince you of this or that. I'm basically looking for the truth. And when you're looking for the truth, you will find the truth everywhere. The truth is everywhere. In your heart, you will find it in writings. You will find it in different traditions. You will find it in different stories, like the Cherokee story, which is an ancient Native American story. You will find it everywhere. And as you start looking for the truth, you start to see it everywhere. And then it explains the challenge that we're going through. And then reality and our own existence can't ignore it or deny it because it's too obvious.
Yeah. And also something that I think of is like, when you realize that essentially you're in a game, then you can play the game. And the game is like, there's an opponent or the devil or the ego, whatever's good for you, and tries to separate you. And every time you acknowledge that, now you can do something about it by maybe not reacting, but responding and staying connected. And then you could get the upper hand and stay oneness.
Yeah. Well, it's knowing what's separating you and what's dividing you. It is a narrative of the universe. It is a movie. If you look at Black Panther, good versus evil, Harry Potter, good versus evil, Star Wars, good versus evil. This is the nature of a reality. And guess what? Once you understand, as you said, how the game is being played and how the movie is being told, you'll realize you're a hero and you're part of an epic story. And you're meant to live an epic life. And guess what? Your life matters. And you're the hero on a journey. And along the way, you're going to face a lot of adversity. And there might be some suffering along the way. And there's going to be challenges that you will face on this journey. And understanding how the war is being waged against you and the game plan against you. You'll now have the answer and how to counter the game plan. So I'm teaching you how to win the battle of your mind so you can dominate this existence and dominate this world because you're meant to. Here's why. God actually wants you to dominate this world, and he wants you to win in this world, and he gave you the power to do so. He really did. That's what's cool. He's giving you the power. I'm giving you the tools so you can tap into that power so you can win this battle. And then you have this enemy. You have this force that's always trying to separate you and divide you and destroy you. And that's what's happening. This is not a playground. This is a battleground. And once you know this, you can now win the battle. And too many people think, oh, it's me. It's my fault. Oh, this is happening. Oh, those negative thoughts are coming from me. Oh, this fear is because of me. Oh, this shame and guilt that I feel is keeping me down. So they're allowing themselves to become victims. And that's exactly what evil wants. It's exactly what that opposing force wants for you in your life. So you'll never reach your destiny. So you'll never become who you're meant to be. So you'll never become who you're called to be and never make the impact that you're meant to have. Well, guess what? God wants you to make an impact, and it's why he wants to restore you and bring you back to himself to experience oneness. And it's why I'm so passionate about this book, because I know when you get back to oneness, you will understand this and have power. And it's why I know that when you read this book, you're going to see how it all plays out, and you're going to have the tools to ultimately take on these challenges, triumph, and have incredible victory in this life.
I haven't seen you do this, Jazz, ever. And the tools help you go and transform from reactive to proactive and play offense.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
be a victim.
No, and the more you play offense and the more you focus on oneness and connection, then you're much more powerful when the separation starts to happen and you start to see the separation. Like I can see now, oh, this is happening, that's happening, trying to divide me, trying to distract me, trying to keep me from my purpose, trying to keep me from my destiny, trying to get me off track so I don't do what I'm here to do. You can see it, how it plays out. And it's wild because, like I said, you become like a Jedi in this world. It was really cool. My wife and I, we were with a college coach, a big time college coach, his wife, some friends, and the coach was saying a situation he was dealing with. And my wife said, oh, well, that's simple. Like you guys are looking outside, not inside. They're looking at the circumstances, not their state of mind. I'm like, you've been reading the manuscript, haven't you? I'm like, yeah. Like she understood it the minute she saw what he was going through. As you read this book, you're going to see situations go, oh, that's what's happened there. Like you and your fiance, you're going to be like, oh, this is coming up. Try and divide us in our relationship. Let's make sure we stay connected. Let's stay united. Catherine and I the other day, we're feeling a little disconnected. I said, honey, come for a walk with me. I want to connect with my wife. And we had this incredible, great walk, connected. And then after that, like we felt great. But what happens when you feel disconnected? Now you get this gap between you and your fiance. You get this gap between you and your wife. You get this gap between you and your loved one. And now you have this gap. And what starts to fill the gap? Where there's avoiding communication, negativity will fill it. You have this gap, feeling of disconnection. Jealousy starts to come in. Worry starts to come in. Insecurity starts to come in. So you see how it starts to play out. Negativity starts to fill the gap. When you all are one and you're connected, nothing can come in, and nothing could take that unity and that power away that you have. But the minute you start getting a little divided, all of a sudden it starts to seep in, and that gap becomes a canyon. And the key is to create the oneness and the connection so it can't even come in. So being proactive, the more I'm doing the tune exercise from the book, TUNE, whole, WHOLE, and you're doing that. This is the action plan I provide in the book. And then prayer, PRAYER. The more you're doing that, boom, you are now connecting every day and becoming more one every day. And you'll start to experience more power every day. And this is God's plan for us, not to live according to our own power, but his power moving through us. See, that's the answer. When you become one, it's his power moving through you. You're surrendering, you're trusting, you're not doing it on your own, but it's his power moving through you. So you said earlier about the ego, and you were talking about how, whether it's the enemy or the ego, but I got to say this, like we misunderstand what the ego is all about. And this is not in the book, but this is something even reinforced as I was writing the book and thinking a lot about. You know where the ego comes from, really? This is going to blow your mind. Your ego is actually your soul. you have an ego because you have a soul. Your soul, as I said earlier, is your sense of self. It's why you're not just a spirit floating around. There's a sense of Craig Siegel in this reality expressing itself as yourself. So we have this soul. The soul then has a sense of self. And what does the ego do? Have a sense of self. So we're meant to have an ego. That ego gives us a sense of self. The challenge is the soul and the ego are meant to serve a bigger purpose and be connected to a greater power, connected to oneness and wholeness. As it's connected to wholeness and oneness, it thrives. It is healing. It's being renewed. It's being restored. It's living out its purpose and passion. That's how you're meant to go through life, being connected to this greater power, greater strength, to the oneness of your creator. When the soul, or I'd say ego, is separate and focused on self, it's no longer serving others or connected to something. Now it becomes unhealthy and it becomes self-focused. And then it separates even more. And so now the ego starts to rise even more and becomes more and more powerful and more separate. And that leads to all sorts of dysfunction and disconnection, if you think about it. So it's actually the ego and soul are one and the same. No one's ever really understood what that is. And I think this is a game changer and a life changer, just knowing this. Does that make sense to you?
A lot of sense. And this is not in the new book?
This is actually not in
So
the new
it's in
book.
the next one.
Have to be in the next one, but it's like, because again, I didn't want to put too many concepts in there because it would be too convoluted, too much. I really wanted to make it very simple and next level. But what is in there is the understanding that if you take a cucumber and you dump it into pickle juice and you do it once, submerge it, pull it out, is that cucumber transformed by the pickle juice? No. It's got to be bathed in the pickle juice. The more it bathes in the pickle juice, it gets pickled. It gets transformed. So that cucumber is your soul, and that spirit is the spirit you're connected to, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God. And when you bathe and you're connected to the pickle juice, you get healed and transformed and renewed. But it's got to be an ongoing process. One time is not going to do it. And that's why there's actually a discipline, to meditation, a discipline to prayer, a discipline to taking time to be connected with your creator. And the more you are, it will renew your mind. It will renew your soul. Paul says, don't be conformed by the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We are renewing our mind every time we're connecting and finding that oneness with our creator. I think meditation helps a lot because as you're meditating, you're now connecting to more oneness and losing a sense of self, which is really helpful, very powerful. But here's the thing. As a man thinketh, right? As you think about, you become. So if you're meditating and you're thinking about nothing, well, then what do you become? Nothing. You want to meditate on the goodness. You want to meditate on God. You want to meditate on the love of God. As you think about love and you start connecting to the love of God, what do you become? Love. You become that goodness that you are and that you're meant to be. So as you're meditating and finding silence, it's powerful when you're actually allowing love to heal you and transform you and renew you.
This is a masterclass today. This is so much fun. This is awesome. We'll land the plane with this. One of the really cool concepts that you speak about in the book is to talk to yourself instead of listening to yourself. And I imagine some people are like, well, what does that mean? How would you hammer that home?
I love that we're actually talking about something practical at the end after all this going so deep. And Craig, I have not gone this deep with anybody else. This is the first time I'm going this deep.
Because we are one.
Yeah, we're connected. And I knew you'd love it. And I knew that this is something with you that we can go into this with. And your audience will be like, okay, I'm tracking. If you're confused by any of it, I promise, read the book. It will energize you and you'll really have a great understanding of what it's all about. And if you don't, you read it. You join the launch team. When is this coming out, Craig? Do you know?
June 20th.
Okay, the book comes out the 27th. So if you hear this, join the launch team. Go to GetOneTruth.com. GetOneTruth.com.
Were you asking me or were you testing me?
No, I actually was asking you when it was coming out because I didn't know exactly when. So I knew the books. I knew the book was coming out the 27th. We're one. I'm not going to test you. And so, so you have the book coming out 27th. Join the launch team. You'll be able to read the book before anyone else does. and you'll get a free PDF when you join the launch team. You'll get to read the book. And as you do, if you have any questions when you're done reading it, feel free to send them my way if you're thinking about things. Because trust me, I've thought about everything that I could possibly think about. I talked to theologians. I studied scripture. I studied the Old Testament. I'm looking at science and neuroscience. And I really believe this book is like the convergence of science and then spirituality. And it brings two together because science is the search for truth. Well, guess what? When you understand what the truth is and you have the truth, and the truth is written, I believe, in the scriptures, guess what? That science will then and should be able to explain what is in the scriptures. And I was blown away of how it all really came together and explained. The scriptures were able to explain what's going on at the scientific level, and the science will eventually be able to test what is actually in the scriptures. There's no doubt, which is going to be exciting to see. Because the more we understand how the mind and the brain works and the spiritual nature of our being, it all makes sense. So going back to your question about being practical. So if we are thought, and thoughts create our reality, and thoughts determine how we live and how we feel, well, guess what? Those negative thoughts are always coming in. Are they coming from you? Of course not. Who would ever choose to have a negative thought? So negative thoughts are always coming in. It's the spiritual battle that we're talking about. There's this fear, anxiety, worry, doubt, and negative thoughts that are trying to sabotage you. So as they come in, don't listen to those lies. Don't listen to those negative thoughts. Speak truth to the lies. And the more you do that and speak truth, you encourage yourself and you give yourself power. You uplift your state of mind instead of allowing negative thoughts to bring down your state of mind. And so that's the key every day, is to uplift your state of mind. How do we do that? Tune, Tune. Trust and truth. We trust and we speak truth to the lies. We unite with God, unite with love on a daily basis, experiencing that oneness, and neutralize the negativity. Neutralize it day in and day out. When it comes in, neutralize it. Don't give it any power. Gandhi said, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. Don't allow those negative thoughts to walk through your mind. And then E, elevate your thinking. Elevate what you're thinking about, optimism, belief, gratitude. See, we've been talking about this for years in the self-growth world, gratitude, appreciation, but this is why it works. This explains it. When you practice gratitude, you elevate your state of mind. You actually raise the vibration of your antenna. And as you raise the vibration of your antenna, you start to tune into more positive thoughts, Tune. And as you start to tune into more positive thoughts, those thoughts literally actually nourish your brain, nourish the energetic structure of your brain. It fuels it and becomes what your brain is, and then gives it a higher frequency, which then tunes into more and more positive thoughts. It makes so much sense when you understand that's what's really happening. Why do we feel better when we think positive thoughts? Because it elevates our state of mind. Why do negative thoughts actually bring us down and cause the feelings that we have? Because those negative thoughts lower our state of mind and lower the frequency. This is what's happening every single day. High frequency or low frequency, high state of mind, low state of mind. Tune into the positive, Tune. Trust and truth, unite with God, unite with the love, neutralize the negativity, elevate your thinking.
All right. And also you start to get the positive momentum when you're tuned into the higher frequency. And just like you would get the negative momentum. So you want to be
negative momentum, it comes a downward spiral. Positive momentum, you're elevating your state of mind. You're tuning into more of a positive frequency. Positive thoughts are coming in. Just like if you talk to a plant, the plant actually starts to thrive. If you yell at a plant or mean to a plant, actually doesn't do so well. Or they've done these testing with water. The scientist that was doing tests on water, and you actually could change the energetic structure of the water by what you're saying to it and the frequency. I'm convinced in the future we will understand that what we say in our mind and the thoughts we tap into affect literally the antenna of our brain.
This is actually the exact reason why I'm such an emphasis, and I built my brand on a community, because as a community, we are one, at least in my thought process.
So the fact that you said that is so powerful, because that is in the book. Yes, when you create community and a community that is connected, you move towards oneness and you move towards wholeness. It is very healing. We heal in a loving relationship, research shows. We heal in a loving relationship. Can you heal with a stranger? No. Now it has to be a loving relationship. Well, guess what? You have that community that is connected and they love each other. you'll find healing there. It moves you away from self. Guess what? Loving yourself is actually the step in the right direction, but it's not the whole answer. It's a step in the right direction because your love is only so much. You're not a perfect being, neither am I. So it's not the highest form of frequency there is, but when you self-love, you're moving away from loathing yourself and from hate. So that moves you towards healing. But here's the deal, Craig. We all have a God-sized hole in our heart. We have a God-sized hole that only God can fill. And you could try to fill it with community, and it's not going to fill it. You actually close the gap with community, but it doesn't completely fill it. Community doesn't replace God. Self-love doesn't replace God. That's why you're meant to be connected with your creator. The love of God and the forgiveness of God is what truly heals that hole in your soul, the God-sized hole that only he can fill. Try to do it on your own. It's not enough. It moves us in the right direction and closes the gap. But ultimately, that God-sized hole is meant to be filled by God. And as you fill it, that's when you find healing. Now, if that God is a stranger or just a higher power, can you heal? No, we just said you can't heal with a stranger. Well, guess what? If you just say, hey, power, no, there's a personal God that loves you and you receive that love and you know that that God is for you, knows you, here for you. And that's when real healing truly takes place because it's not a stranger, it's a loving relationship.
I'm so proud of you and so happy for you because aside from all the millions of people that you're helping with all this in your work, I see you so excited and I never knew this lit up and like you can't buy that.
This is my 8th podcast in like 2 days, and I am still energized, still jacked because I know that this is so important. And I feel like I have the answer to mental health. I have the answer to mental toughness. I have the answer to what people are going through for the healing that they need. So of course I want to share it. And anyone who comes at me, oh, religion, religion, guess what? Get rid of the religion. Focus on the love of the creator. Get rid of all of it. This is not about religion. Accept and receive what will heal you. You're going to keep something away because of religion. Guess what? Guess who wants to do that? Your enemy wants to keep you from healing. So let's cut through it all and go right to the source and get healed and find the healing that you need. And who went through this? Me. Who studied pretty much every religion out there? Me. Who basically was searching for the truth? Me. And so many others. And those who have, you know, it's pretty cool as you start searching and seeking, and then you find the truth. So I'm excited because I feel like I really have found something that will help people. And when you have talked to teenagers like I have who are struggling, and I taught this to them in a simple way, when you read the book, that's what I taught like to teenagers, and you see those teenagers turn around from being suicidal one day to the second day being fine and great. And then a year later going, doing great, Mr. Gordon. When I reach out to him, you're like, man, I've got to share this with the world. I've got to impact the world with this because I've helped now a bunch of teenagers who I've talked to on the phone, friends of mine's kids, college athletes, all struggling. And I share this with them, boom, within one day they turn around. My friends' parents like, what did you do? They're like, great, like a different person. I just shared this concept and the truth with them, helped them understand. Because once you understand the truth, the lies fade away.
Yeah.
And guess what? The lie that was having a hold on you, that was bringing you down, right? Holding you back, that fades away. Now the truth starts to uplift you. You start to see who you really are. And then you start to walk in that power. Man, nothing better. So I think that's why I'm jazzed because like I'm really excited to see what happens when people read it, how they are changed by how they change by it. And then when they do the action plan and they start tapping into the action plan in terms of TUNE, whole WHOLE, and then PRAYER, and they start doing those three, it's gonna be cool to see what happens because I've been testing with friends. My wife actually has been doing PRAYER. Catherine's been already seeing the impact of doing that every day.
Johnny, last thing. If someone didn't believe in a higher power, would this book still help them?
So book 1 of the book is there's 3 books in one. So it's one book, but I have like 3 sections. And section 1, or you can call it book 1, that's higher state of mind. I wrote that book and that part of the book for everybody, even if you don't believe in a higher power, you do that and you actually follow that and understand that, you're going to see an amazing, amazing benefit from doing that. It's funny because I even wrote about that in the end of book 1. I said, if you don't want to read on, if you don't want to read about the one truth and really understand what's behind it, and just want to have some level of understanding and going to the next level and having a higher state of mind, this is what I've been teaching college athletes a lot. This is what I'll teach companies and so forth. Then stay in book one. But you'll be impacted by it because it's helped a lot already just doing that. I spoke at training camps, at colleges, sales organizations. I taught higher state of mind versus low state of mind to that. So I wrote that book one for those folks. Book two, within the book, takes you to the understanding of the one truth and separateness and oneness, and gives all these different cool real life examples. Okay, great. Read book two if you want as well. Book three is where I really get into the understanding of God's role in our oneness and God's healing and what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. That's in book three. So if you don't want to go there, don't go there, but you'll still find help from book one and book two big time.
I can confirm. I read it myself. I love you so much that it's concerning. I would typically ask, what are you most excited about? How can the audience support? We already know the answer to that. We're gonna put the book, the direct links to the book, to the launch team, to all the cool things that you have going on in the show notes. And I just want to personally thank you. I love our bond. I love the work that you do in the world, and you've really helped elevated my soul and spirit, and just become a better overall human being and be more available for some of these complex concepts.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Craig. Your ideas come to you when you're walking and things like that, right?
Yeah, running specifically.
Yeah, running when you're experiencing that connection and oneness, that's when they come in, right?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah, the really powerful downloads. Yep.
And you're like, where are those ideas coming from? But they're just coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cool? I think that just that practical example of knowing that and how that happens, that's the real cool aspect of oneness. Well, as people do this and experience that more and more, you're going to start to receive insights that you never knew were there. And it's that intimate walk as you do that where those great ideas come from. And that's what happened to me. That's how I've written 28 books, taking those walks every day, getting downloads, listening, following, and doing. But I made time every day to tune my antenna every single day. And as I was doing that, I didn't realize at the time what was happening. Now, 28 books later, over 16, 17 years later, I go, oh, that's what I was doing. Every day I was walking, practicing gratitude, praying, tuning my mind. That's why I got all these ideas. Well, guess what? You want to be more creative? I know your community has a lot of creative folks, a lot of entrepreneurs. You want to be more successful. You want to make a bigger impact. You want to have more sales. You want to grow. Well, guess what? Take time for oneness. And as you do, you'll get so many more insights that you can't find on your own, but they'll come to you and they'll be for your business.
Oneness is a portal to expansion.
That's good. I love it. I would say in oneness, you are expansive.
Done. Johnny, hang up for 1 second. I want to ask you a personal question. I want you to know you the definition of encouragement, transformation, and unbelievable energy. I could personally guarantee your best yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and leaving your mark on this world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless, juicy nuggets today.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Love you, man. I never seen you this jazzed. It's unbelievable.
Woo.
That was, can I be honest with you? That was the least I ever spoke on an episode of the CLS Experience.
I talked a lot. I talked a ton.
I wouldn't change a thing.
I just kept going.
No, it's awesome. Special to watch. So proud of you. So happy.
It makes sense. You think we're gonna lose some people? You think
no. No, but also like you're not everyone's cup of tea. The right people are gonna gravitate. This is like another level of depth.
Yeah, I struggle with that.
Can't be afraid to lose people with this stuff.
Oh yeah, no, and the goal is keep it so practical though that we went towards the end a little more practical. We went real deep early, but that's okay. But I've been going a little more practical and then trying to bring them more to the spiritual aspect.
It's good to marry those two.
Yeah, this one we went really deep, but I thought it'd be fun for us to even go there and talk about it. So I thought that was cool.
100%. Yeah.
Like, where's the spirit? Like the spirit and soul. Isn't that revolutionary when you understand our spirit and soul?
Yeah.